Thanks for coming back to the Hags Overlanding channel. We're in the off season here, kind of. I think today I'm going to do a little bit of an experiment. Since baking the cinnamon rolls went so well on the discada, I'm going to do an experiment with baking some cookies on the discada. Today I have just some generic pre-made chocolate chip cookies. We're going to take these, a pie pan, some cooking spray for the pie pan, just generic vegetable oil cooking spray. And then we're going to get out a part of our Dutch oven kit to use with the discada. And for that, I'm going to be using the Camp-Made griddle. Goes with their Camp-Made cooking system. Alright, to get started, what I'm going to do is add some water to the discada here. Just like we did for the cinnamon rolls. I'll put a link to that video. One of these days I'll learn which side that's on compared to where I'm at. A moderate amount of water. We'll check it again, make sure we've still got some water. To that water, I'm going to add some olive oil, just so we don't cook all the oil off of the pan. Take some vegetable spray. Do up our, I'm going to use an aluminum pie tin, or a pie tin again, because it's what I have handy, it's what I generally try to carry. Since I've got all the spraying done, now we're going to start up the discada. We'll let that come up to temperature while we do the rest of it here. I'm going to grab the lid. Okay, with the lid for the discada, I'm going to put that on. We're going to let it warm up a bit. For these cookies, what we're going to do, pull out a knife, cut the end wide open. They're on a little tray in there. Well, we'll cut down the sides a little bit here too, it looks like. Warning, do not eat raw cookie dough. For today's purposes, I think I'll pull out one of my big kitchen knives. Cut it about on the line here. And cut those, their lines look like quarters. We'll go with that just because today. Put these strategically around the pan here. Just kind of slide them in. Probably not a good way to make lots of cookies, but for a couple for warm, fresh cookies for a treat, hey, that should work well. The instructions say to cook them for 11 to 12 minutes until edges are golden brown. We'll put them on, we'll check them a few times and see what happens here. This is over a medium heat. If I was doing this in the oven, it would probably be about a 350. Okay, the water's steaming out of there pretty good. Yeah, it's actually a little bit of oil, so it might be too hot. Drop those cookies on there and let her rip. I had to go and get my welding gloves, well, my cooking welding gloves out of the kit, just because this pan can get a little hot. Alright, it's been about 5 minutes. I can't wait, I want to take a quick peek. I don't think they're done yet, but Alright, looks like the water level's doing alright as well. And we'll check back again in a few more minutes. Okay, we're getting close, so I'm going to check again. Open this water just in case. I can hear that sizzle. It means it's gotten low enough on water. Well, those are starting to look interesting. Not quite like a dry heat from the oven, but still. Let's keep going. Let's go the full 12 minutes, see what we get. Alright. It's been the recommended 12 minutes. We're going to pull the cover and take a look. Still kind of gooey. That might be to be expected with this wet heat. So I don't know if this baking experiment with cookies is going to work all too well. We'll let it go a little bit longer, see what happens. Okay, it's been another 3 minutes. Let's see what we're doing. Boy, I don't know if it's going to work. Still kind of gooey. Sounds like the oil is getting down to the pan itself rather than floating on top of water. Let's let it go for a little bit longer, see what happens. That's all we can do. Got another minute or so, let's check them again. I have a feeling all our oil is down and to the bottom there. Yeah, okay. But our cookies are still fairly doughy. I'm going to not add any more water. We'll see if this dried out a little bit. Heat helps firm those up a little bit. Yeah, I think we're going to call that a fail. Now I'm just burning the olive oil. So that's basically what I ended up with. They look kind of crummy. They're still real doughy. We're going to call that a fail. I wish it would have worked. It would have been a great use scenario. In a case such as out on the trail with fire bands, because with fire bands you typically can't use a Dutch oven. I'm not one to carry one of those bigger stoves with the oven built into them. I do have another idea. We'll see if I still have the old hiking oven. Well, it wasn't really a hiking oven. I guess it was more of a old Coleman camp oven we can try on top of here. That might be worth a try. These are just a doughy mess. I'm not even going to try them. They're just going to get tossed. But I do have another idea. We'll see if I can find it and we'll come back to you with that. Alright, a second experiment, part of this experiment. Rather than making you wait till the next video, I am going to try it another way. I pulled out some of my Dutch oven gear and the base for the griddle. We're going to see if I can come up with a good bake of these cookies this way. Again, this is all for the situation where perhaps a fire ban has been put in place, and generally a fire ban will negate the use of will negate the use of coals for traditional Dutch oven cooking. So we're going to try doing a Dutch oven style on the top of the griddle base. We'll see what happens. Like I said, this is an experiment. First one failed. I'm going to let this Dutch oven base warm up and we'll see what happens. The rest of the prep is pretty much going to be the same except for no pouring water as we have a dry heat this time. Okay, so I decided I am going to do something just a little bit different here. I'll wipe a lot of the oil out of this pan so I don't waste the pan. I'm going to throw down some parchment paper. And then I'm going to put the cookies in. Not quite warm enough yet, I don't think. I turned it up a little bit for the warm-up procedure here. And we'll see where we go from there. I'll be back after this is done warming up. Temperature's not quite where it's going to be, but I think we're going to give it a shot. Might just take a little bit longer. Alright, 3:13, let's start the clock. Smells like I forgot to turn the heat down. Now, by what I've got coming out of here, I'm going to guess that's not working either. Sure enough, parchment paper's torched. That's heat safe. We'll set it up here. Okay, well, there's two ways of not doing it. And if we learn anything from Thomas Edison, we get to try again. I'm going to see if I can find a heat diffuser of some sort. Yeah, because that is torched on the bottom. Well, attempt number 2 didn't take as long to fail, but it still failed because I need a heat diffuser on the bottom. I might have to see. I've got some ideas for that. I'm going to do some more trying around, and we'll come back to you. We'll see what. I'll let you know what worked. All right. Thanks for sticking with me as I continue to experiment with baking cookies using my equipment that I have on the trail. I tried with the Discata. That didn't work so well. Tried on the grill base without the griddle. It worked even less good. Now, I think I'm going to try on the grill base with the griddle in place to diffuse the heat and use the bottom of a Dutch oven to hold the heat. This has been preheating for a little bit, so we'll lift the Dutch oven off, set it over here. Got a grill temperature. That's a little higher than I want in the 400-500 area. Throw on some parchment. I'm going to put these cookies out near the outer edges here. Hopefully far enough on the edge where I don't burn them. Or at least don't burn them too badly. And I'll grab the lid for that Dutch oven and we'll throw it back on. I'm crossing my fingers. I've got, I think, enough cookies here, raw cookies for a couple more tries. One more if I can't keep myself from eating the raw cookies even though it says not to. We'll see how this goes. I'm going to guess 10 to 12 minutes like the package says, but we'll see what happens. Okay, timer says it's been a little over 5 minutes. I might be shooting myself in the foot, but I can't help it. I've got to have a peek. Make sure we're not burning parchment, though I don't see any evidence that we are. Okay, I think the temperature is going to come up just a little bit here. give that a shot, see what happens. They're looking pretty good actually. I'm waiting for them to come down. Temperature of the top Dutch oven, 120 is, but that's only a lid. I think it's about 300-ish inside there. Let me bring the temperature up to hair warm. We'll see what happens. Okay, timer's gone off. Turn that down just a hair because I smell a little bit, maybe slightly charred. Let's see what we look like. Ooh. I think I'm going to give those a couple more minutes here. And the char I'm smelling is probably just the paper. So we'll see what happens. We'll set our watch. Well, let's call it 3 minutes and see what happens. We'll go from there. Okay, this is looking good, looking kind of promising. So we're going to go with that. Pull a plate out here. Pinch the parchment, slide them right on like so. Slightly charred on the bottom, and I rolled them off the parchment unfortunately, but we'll let them sit here and finish up real quick, sit on the counter. So basically, this might take us a little bit more experimenting, but I think we've got something reasonable to start with. I don't mind a little bit of char on some things. On others, not quite. Might have been better for this time is using slightly larger parchment and just cooking two out on the extreme corners here, or finding another heat diffuser in the middle. Oh, there's an idea. There's an idea. Let's turn this back on and try one more batch. I just had an idea. We're going to throw that on the grill as a razor and a diffuser. We're still going to use some parchment paper. Let me throw this away and get some fresh stuff. Crinkle it up so it lays flatter. I'm going to start that warming. Go grab some cookies. Okay, I've got my cookies, or my cookie chunks. Instead of laying them at the extremes, I'm going to go a little bit closer again. I'm going to put our Dutch oven lid back on. Gotta get my gloves for that because it's still good and warm. Set our timer again. We're going to set it for the full 12 this time. And we'll come back and check on these in a little bit. Let's cross our fingers. Okay, it's been a few minutes with that first somewhat okay batch. And these tops have actually set up after letting them sit for a couple minutes. A little bit charcoaly. If it wasn't for the charcoal on the bottoms, these would be pretty good. So I think this is the third batch here. We learned a lot by doing it that way. I think we're getting on the right track here. We'll see how we do with this fourth batch. I'm thinking for baking, the infrared thermometer is going to go a long way. Okay, it's been almost 10 minutes. Let's take a look at what we have going here. I like what I'm seeing so far. Let's let it go all the way. Okay, there's time. Let's take a peek, see how we're doing. I think we're going to be pretty dang close. I'm hoping. I'm hoping. Nope, I screwed one of them up. but we get to see the bottom of it. It doesn't look too bad. I'm going to set these over here, let them finish their cooking process. Alright, we'll be back in a minute to taste test these, let them cool down for a couple minutes. Okay, let's see how this latest batch turned out. I think we're on the right track. Still a little gooey on top. About the right color, slightly charred at the bottom. I think that's probably what's going directly onto the parchment paper onto the rack. But I think I'm on the right track. No, pretty good, really good. I'm definitely on the right track. So I think that's for this video. There's still some improvements that could be done. For example, I might go on the search and see if I can find a 10-inch or so baking pan, round baking pan. Maybe from like a personal pizza size baking pan, or see what else I have. I have some old cast iron with no-name stuff that I wouldn't feel about trimming handles off of. Let's see if I can find that old stuff and see if I can make a baking pan to go on top of this to improve it even that little bit more. But for now, I think I'm on the right track. We'll see where we go from there. This has been an adventure, or well, an experiment in baking on the equipment that I have. Started out trying the Discada with water, like I did the cinnamon rolls. Worked out pretty good for the cinnamon rolls, but not very good for what I have here, or for the cookies, because I need a drier environment. I'm using the camp-made grill setup here that goes with the whole camp-made Dutch oven system. That allowed me to use the griddle as a diffuser, produce a more even heat, but set the cookies up on the rack higher than the heat. I think that's what worked best. Putting them on a piece of parchment paper directly on that worked okay, but I think I could have improved it by setting them on a baking pan on top of this rack. Kind of like, well, a regular household oven in that sense. If you like what I've been doing here, if you like this experiment with baking, make sure you like this video so I know it. Subscribe to the channel so you can see when some more experiments come along. And share it around. Thanks for joining me on this baking experiment on the Hags Overlanding channel. We'll catch you next time.